Morning. Let's go ahead and call the February meeting of the State Transportation Board to order. Am I echoing? Okay, maybe they'll fix that. So anyway, I'm glad you're all here. Thank you. It looks like a drizzly day out, but that's okay. We're getting ready for spring. So the first thing we'll do is have our invocation and then the pledge, and then we'll have a roll call. Crystal, would you do a roll call?
I'll go back. Congressional District 1, Ann Purcell. Here. 2, Johnny Floyd.
Here.
4, Mr. Brown.
Here.
5, Stacey Key.
Here.
6, Mr. Abel.
Here.
7, Mr. Bowen.
Here.
8, Mr. Golden.
Here.
9, Ms. Dunn.
Here.
10, Mr. Boswell.
Here.
11, Mr. Lewis.
Here.
12, Mr. Morris.
Here.
13, Ms. Lemon.
Here.
And 14, Mr. Sharon.
Okay, great. It's good to see everybody here today. We're going to start with approval of our minutes from the January board meeting. Do we have? I hope everyone did review those. Do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to welcome Albert Shelby up, our Director of Program Delivery, and to talk about the March letting.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner, members of the board. I am here to present the projects the department is proposing to advertise for the March 2022 letting. So before we present March, here are the FY 2022 results. We have a total of 148 projects that have been let in FY 2022. This chart shows the number of projects by improvement type. The value of these 148 projects is approximately $771 million through the January 2022 bid awards, with 143 Gdot let projects worth approximately $759 million, and 5 local let projects worth $11.7 million. This chart shows the dollar amount distribution by improvement type, with maintenance, bridge, and road projects making up the bulk of these types. Here are the results of the January 2022 letting. Of the 27 Gdot let contracts presented to the board, 25 were awarded and 2 were rejected from the letting. Now I'm going to discuss the projects in the March 2022 letting. We have a total of 31 projects and all are Gdot let. The next 3 slides list these 31 projects arranged by Congressional District. As you can see with this slide, we are letting a variety of projects throughout the state to address bridge capacity, maintenance, and safety issues. Our first highlighted project will resurface State Route 377 from State Route 195 to the Sumter County line for 8.65 miles. This section of State Route 377 was last repaved in 2004, 18 years ago, and is an excellent example of our continued commitment to maintaining our existing infrastructure. The next highlighted project is the replacement of the structurally deficient bridge on State Route 1 US 27 over Little Tallapoosa River. The existing bridge was constructed in 1941, 81 years ago. And here's a ground view of that bridge to be replaced. This next highlighted project will install 1 single-lane roundabout on State Route 14 at State Route 41. This roundabout will improve operational efficiency and improve safety. This project is the replacement of the structurally deficient bridge on State Route 78 over Williamson Swamp Creek. The existing bridge was constructed in 1946, 76 years ago. And here's a ground view of that bridge to be replaced. This project, just west of the city of Sandersville in Washington County, was programmed as a result of a catastrophic soil failure on another project. We determined that improving the existing section of State Route 24 was the most reasonable alternative to completing this section of the Fall Line Freeway. The project's alignment will follow the existing State Route 24 and will be 4 lanes divided by a 4-foot flush median. This project begins along State Route 24 from east of Chambers Brooks Spring Road to west of Helton Lane. The limits were determined to minimize the need for additional right-of-way and avoid environmental issues. This project is the third and final phase of the South Barrett Parkway project. It will extend Shiloh Valley Drive, Greer's Chapel Drive from I-75 and terminate at Roberts Court at its intersection with Barrett Parkway. The extension will also include construction of a roundabout at Greer's Chapel Drive and Roberts Court. Sidewalks will also be provided. Gdot has partnered with Cobb County and the Cumberland Community Improvement District to bring this local roulette project to construction. This project will widen State Route 92 from 2 lanes to 4 lanes with a median from Pickett's Mill Road to State Route 3 US 41 for approximately 2.1 miles. This project will provide much needed capacity improvements for this heavily traveled corridor. This project will widen State Route 92 from 2 lanes to 4 lanes with a median from Old Burnt Hickory Road to Pickett's Mill Place, where it will tie into the previous project. This project, like the previous, will address the capacity needs in the corridor. So we have 31 projects proposed for the March 2022 letting. This chart shows the distribution by improvement types. The estimate of the projects in the March 2022 letting is approximately $136 million. This chart shows the dollar amount distribution by improvement type. I now ask for consideration for approval of the proposed projects presented in the March 2022 letting.
So moved.
Chairman? Okay, I'll call for discussion, Dana, just a minute. Yes, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Lemon?
Albert, that 92 project, those 2 92 projects, where do they tie into that existing 92 project?
It ties in where the 4-lane section ends and the 2-lane section begins.
South of it, north of it, where?
South of it. That's my understanding.
Paulding County is north of Douglas.
Correct.
Or west of Douglas. So it ties in 2 different places?
It ties in on either end, down on 92. But I need to look at the map to tell you.
This is Cobb County working the ways back south, and then Douglas County is working toward the middle. So there's the Douglas County projects are moving into Paulding, and I believe there's probably another project or 2 between these segments. We'd have to go back and look, but these are starting at Cobb, working south. There will be a 2-lane segment in between that we're sort of like an hourglass working toward the middle.
So they don't touch the project, but eventually they will connect?
I believe there's at least 1 or 2 more projects in between those, I believe.
And we're still under active design.
So we haven't let yet?
That's correct.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Shelby.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to invite Matt Markham, our Deputy Director of Planning, to come to give us our revisions.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner, members of the board. I'm pleased to come before you this morning to present the proposed revisions to the construction work program. And like I've done several months, I have 2 sets, one that I'll bring forward that will be for action next month, that are just for your awareness, and then also bring one to you that is for action today. So first, the ones that are for your awareness that'll come back to you next month for action. There's a lot of them this month, a total of 27 for your review, 2 that are being recommended for deletion from the program, and 25 recommended additions. The 2 deletions, one of them is deletion in Dodge County. turn lane project that was determined by the district to no longer be needed. And then one deletion, a widening project in Fulton and Gwinnett County that is recommended for deletion because the work was done by Johns Creek in Gwinnett County, so it was done by the locals. The other 25 additions are bridge projects that are requested to be added throughout the state in congressional districts 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, and 14. So those I'll kind of show you along the list here quickly for you. So those are the ones that I'll come back to you next month for action, if you don't have any questions at this time. And I'm bringing one for you this morning for action that I did bring to you last month. This is a new interchange. It's an addition to the program, a new interchange at I-20 on the east side in Morgan County at Old Mill Road. This is a new interchange that is designed to serve the East Atlanta mega site. I did bring that to you last month for review and bringing it back to you for consideration this morning.
Okay, do we have a motion for to accept this revision? Do you have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Commissioner.
Good morning, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's my pleasure to give you the February Commissioner's Report. And we'll start, as we always do, with our fund source collections for January of last month. Totaled $185.3 million in revenue, $169 million in excise, $16 million in transportation fees. That brings fiscal year to date totals to $1.3 billion. $1.2 billion of the 1.3 is excise, and then $120.8 million in transportation fees. That puts us tracking about $135 million ahead of last year same time. So our trajectory on revenue is still up as compared to last year. Now let me transition in a little bit to talk. Yesterday you heard Josh Waller's presentation talking about the continuing resolution for the federal funding, and then you heard Angela give the FY amended 22 budget presentation. We find ourselves in a little bit of an awkward situation as the current bipartisan infrastructure law has not been funded fully by Congress. The continuing resolution is using the FAST Act funding levels for only the FAST Act programs that carried forward into the bipartisan infrastructure law. So to date, we've received the ability to be reimbursed federally $464 million. You just heard Albert report that year to date we've bid $771 million. That does not include federal right-of-way authorizations or funding for buying property or paying for the design, environmental, and all the supportive services to advance projects. So the federal government allows each state to do something called advanced construct. I call it an IOU, where we follow the federal process and they will give you an IOU to reimburse with federal dollars when federal dollars become available. And this has become pretty traditional that we operate in continuing resolutions starting on October 1. They usually do something into November, December, and then another continuing resolution into January. And then generally there's been a full appropriation by Congress to fund it's actually all federal programs, but in our case, transportation funding. So we are now getting later and later into the federal fiscal year and certainly later into the state fiscal year before we have funding available for Congress. So we have IO'd our way to a point that next month's letting, it will likely be impacted to receive federal authorization for the IOU. For next month's letting of April, for the April letting, or the advertisement of April letting. Let me clarify that. The advertisement of April letting, we would have to get federal approval before the March 11th continuing resolution date the House has proposed, as Josh talked about yesterday, and the Senate will act on this week. So we're in a little bit of a limbo here that we're not, with this federal uncertainty, we've sort of advanced as much of the federal program with state dollars we can, and April will likely be affected. And we're doing that strategically because we need to look at how do we strategically use our dollars for April and May, should Congress not do a full appropriation sometime between now and March 11. So I'll just give you a cautionary tale that we're watching this very closely. We haven't slowed down any of our programs to date, and we've IOU'd, that's a terrible way to say that. We have advanced constructed all we can with our state dollars now without being at risk of not having state dollars to do any other projects or programs for that matter. And when I say projects, that's right away, design, everything else. So we hope that Congress will certainly move forward. We anticipate that, but we're in a little bit of a timing issue here where we have to push the buttons in the federal system by the end of this month, but the continuing resolution may not be solved until a couple of weeks into next month. So we'll just keep you posted on that. It's super complicated. Again, I want to commend Angela and Angie Robinson over in the Office of Financial Management, who has to keep the accounting on all the federal fund sources, all the different buckets of federal funding, and keep that straight. And it becomes an accounting exercise too. When the federal authorization happens, then we have to go seek that reimbursement and flop money around. It's quite an accounting exercise. So sorry for that level of complexity, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was understanding of sort of where we are. The other complexity of that is some of the new bipartisan infrastructure law programs, USDOT or Federal Highway or FTA or FAA, they can't advance the creation of those programs because there's not funding attached to them. So what that means is that between the state fiscal year that ends June 30 and the beginning of the federal fiscal year, October 1, everything's going to get compressed in the federal fiscal year. So when the money gets finally appropriated, you're looking at between March and September 30 to get all this federal money, quote, authorized. And a lot of it's new programs of which we don't have the guidance to know how to even apply projects to those guidance yet. We've got some good insights in what we think, but until the official guidance comes out, it gets a little problematic. So things are going to get very compressed. And when Angela talks to you about the 23 budget next month, there'll probably be some conversations about what those impacts are going to be, because the federal match will certainly increase in 23 due to the state federal overlap. So a lot of complexity. I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Boswell?
What we're talking about is we're using state funds and federal projects until we get refunded the federal money.
That's correct. That's correct. I told you I'm complicated that too much. Very, very, very adequately said. Okay, let me move forward into employment. Another concerning number. Our full-time staff, 3,607. That's an all-time low. You heard yesterday in Angela's budget presentation, the governor and the House, the governor proposed a $5,000 pay increase for state employees to help with retention. The House has affirmed that. We've moved it the same thing to the Senate. I look forward to Senate being favorable toward that to go into place in March this year and then going forward. So that certainly should help with retention, because last month we lost 61 employees and only were able to hire 27 back. So that's why we're continuing to lose headcount here. And as I testified to the Senate Appropriations Committee on Tuesday, I noted that the $5,000 increase will get our maintenance operators, equipment operator ones, the entry-level equipment operators, to $14.95 an hour. So that's, again, it's hard to compete under $15 an hour for anybody in a job market, especially working out in the elements like today, besides traffic and dangerous situations. So the $5,000 is very welcomed, and we look forward to that, and hopefully that will slow down the trajectory of the resignations, which track at about 60%, by the way, of everybody that leaves. 60% of people that leave are resignations, about 25% are retirements. Everything else is due to, not coming back to work or getting fired or things like that. Okay, I'll try to make this more positive. Moving into professional services update from last month, 139 contracts valued at $20.1 million were executed. That brings the fiscal year to date to 1,110 contracts have been executed for professional services, totaling $435 million. So it's hard to say if those are all federal or state. It's a mix of everything. But if you take Albert's $771 million projects let to date, plus the professional services contracts of $435 million, you can see we're well over $1 billion of outlay, and that does not even include the acquisition of property costs that's going on. So you can see that why we're having to pause at just a moment. Let me move into traffic's projects that open to traffic since we were together last month, and we'll start in Congressional District 2, Calhoun County, which is in Gdot District 4, and this represents a bridge replacement project on State Route 37 over the, let me see if I can get this right, the Pachetla Creek, and there's actually not one bridge. It's one bridge over the creek and then two overflow bridges, so total of 3 bridges, represented a $7.1 million investment. The contractor was Oxford Construction Company, and this project was opened ahead of schedule, but you can see the 3 nice bridges there. Did I get that right, Johnny? Okay. Congressional District 2 and Congressional District 8 will be our next project in Bibb County. This is in the greater Macon area, which is Gdot District 3, a capital maintenance improvement project of resurfacing over 5 miles in milling and inlay on State Route 247, beginning at US 41, and then on the north side, and then ending on 41 on the south side. You can see the map there. The contractor was C.W. Matthews Contracting Company. Represents a $2.7 million investment, capital maintenance investment, and this project opened ahead of schedule. Certainly a much nicer roadway out there. Moving to our next project, which is a safety and operational improvement project in Congressional District 4 in Dekalb County, which is Gdot District 7. This operational improvement project was on US 78 to the access to State Route 236. It extended a second lane on the US 78 westbound entrance ramp and then channelized a right turn, as you see on the left there, from Milburn Stone Mountain Road to Old Stone Mountain Road, which is a little connector road that gets you over to US 78. This represents a $2.4 million operational improvement project constructed by E.R. Snell Contracting Company. This project opened ahead of schedule, and this is another great example of where some really low-cost improvements can make a big difference in traffic flow, especially here around metropolitan Atlanta area. So, again, a great project for safety and operations there on US 78 and State Route 236. Now let me move into some updates of things been going on around the department, and this really sort of is a theme today, and the theme is technology. Let me start with this, and this is where John Hibbert, the Division Director of Permits and Operations, was interviewed by the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, on Georgia's path of how we're advancing vehicle to everything, technically called V2X, deployments, and how the regulatory impacts from NTSB may affect those deployments. The interview was part of the NTSB's Most Wanted interview series. So I was a little worried when they told me that John was on the Most Wanted list. This is a good Most Wanted list to be on, though, unlike others. So John certainly is a national subject matter expert, and he did a great job of outlining our leadership and vision of implementing technology that enhances safety. The V2X refers basically to wireless transmission of data from vehicles to infrastructure and also to pedestrians, providing really relevant information for all users, drivers and pedestrians. And this certainly relates to the automation of vehicles too, as providing data to automated vehicles as they become more prevalent. John did an excellent job of establishing that Gdot is a leader in the nation in this space, and that we're focused on being proactive in implementing this type of technology. He highlighted the benefits that we've seen from our real-world applications of having deployments out on the roadway, including highlighting of what's going on down at the Port of Savannah, where we've done this technology and signals and are working with drayage companies so that there's freight prioritization, that truck drivers can not get stuck in traffic or reroute if there's happened to be a train blocking crossing down around the port. John talked about the immediate and long-term benefits of this technology, which certainly helps move mobility, keeps traffic moving more smoothly, helps to improve safety by reduction in crashes at intersections, and certainly there's an environmental benefit as well when cars are working more efficiently, or trucks or buses are not stopping and starting and idling as much. So I want to congratulate John for being on this list. We don't want to see John on any other most wanted list, but congratulations for being nationally recognized. So staying with the technology theme, I'm very proud of some excellent results in a partnership that our traffic operations team has recently had with Fort Benning. In working with the Director of Public Works down at Fort Benning, we've deployed our Navigator system, the technology, again, of signs and cameras and data to help them with the entrance and entering Fort Benning. If you've ever been around a military base, there's security you go through, and as the people come to work every day and in and out of those gates, it can get backed up. In fact, Fort Benning sees over 34,000 vehicles a day entering their gates and facilities. So the Navigator is sort of our backbone we've been using for a very long time, but this partnership allowed us to use data that we're able to receive from vehicles and help guide by message signs which gates to utilize so that the traffic, those 34,000 vehicles, gets sort of dispersed based on congestion at their gates. So it's been a really great outcome so far. I understand that the delays at their gates have been reduced almost 50%. So that's certainly an advantage to get people in the gates sooner. And certainly want to highlight our team that's been working on this. Matt Glasser, Dolores Utero, and Robert Baker, along with our consultants, have certainly done a good job to execute this. And again, it shows how some simple technology can help improve efficiency, and especially you can see there on the gate the information of the time to those gates. So the same with technology. It was great that WXIA ran a story recently about our digital signs, just like the one you just saw on the previous one, and you can see in the bottom right of the screenshot. And these sign technology continues to get better and better. Now with LED signs, you get the colors, right? You see speeds in green, yellow, and you hope you don't see them in red. I think Dana saw some red this morning on her picture she showed me. So there is a great technology here, but WXIA did a great job with a piece by Jerry Carnes, who has been a long time reporter here in Metro Atlanta. For many years, he was known as the commuter dude. So Jerry Carnes hadn't forgot his roots as a reporter, as the commuter dude, and did this piece on these digital message signs and do they really work? And so let me play this video. We thought it was such a great story that we wanted to share with you. So if they play the video.
Signs along Metro Atlanta interstates, we know they can be encouraging or a bit of bad news.
Depending on the day, right?
You've no doubt passed some of those electronic signs to let you know how long it's going to take to get you from point A to point B during your commute.
Yeah, it could be anybody's guess, right? But how do they know? How can they calculate so specifically? Jerry Carnes is live along I-75 in Henry County to explain. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Aisha. We are on a section of I-75 here in Henry County that has both the toll lanes and the regular lanes, so a lot of electronic signs out here. We passed one just a couple of minutes ago that told us we would enjoy a 67-mile-per-hour ride along this section of 75 at this hour. We're actually going a little bit faster than that. There are other signs that tell you it will take you 5 or 10 or 20 or sometimes 30 minutes to get from one point to another. Those signs change constantly depending on traffic. The technology has changed as well.
They warn you about nasty weather, alert you to construction work in your path. Sometimes they add a little humor to your commute. Electronic road signs can even peek into your future.
This sign is telling me it's going to take 5 to 7 minutes to get to Hudson Bridge Road.
On I-75 in Henry County, electronic signs provide optimism.
Actual time, 4 minutes and 28 seconds, a little faster than expected.
It's Gdot's high-tech way of letting you know if you're running late. Here's how it works. Metro Atlanta's interstates are lined with cameras and radar. They measure how fast traffic is moving along different sections of interstate. A computer algorithm then calculates the drive time from point A to point B.
We are always monitoring the system for anomalies and to make sure that the algorithm is performing to our standards.
In areas that aren't monitored by cameras or radar, Gdot depends on information provided by you. Apps on your cell phone ask you to share your location. Your car probably has technology that tracks your movements through GPS and other means. A third party collects the data emitting from your vehicle and provides it to Gdot to calculate highway speeds and drive time. Gdot's Natalie Dale says the data does not identify you.
That probe data doesn't come to us as any specific cell device or any specific car device. It's sort of this stretch of road is working this way. No, we would not be able to tell whose cell phone, what car.
A wreck on the road ahead will quickly change travel times. That's why Gdot is constantly collecting information and updating the signs every 20 seconds.
There's another look at I-75 northbound here through Henry County. We are just now passing Hudson Bridge Road. Over the years, going back to when I was serving 11 Alive as commuter dude about 4 years ago, I would constantly test to see how accurate those signs were. Amazingly, they're pretty accurate. I got to tell you guys, every time I see a sign that says 15 to 17 minutes, it would usually be right on the mark. So it's just amazingly accurate.
It's incredible to hear in your story they change that every 20 seconds with those updates. Makes you feel confident knowing that as you're trying to figure out how long it's going to get you to take somewhere, that those signs are helping giving you the information you need. Jerry, thanks a lot. Stay safe up there this morning.
All right, I just thought I'd share that. A really good, again, a focus on technology has sort of been the theme of today. Provides great user information. For the record, though, the sign that says you're going to be late, that's not our sign. That's up to when you leave. We just want to provide information. I told you about the Fort Benning. The data for Fort Benning is that anonymized, what we call probe data that's coming from your cell phone or your car. That's how they're doing those calculations down there because there's not as many cameras and radar and stuff that we have down there. So again, great story, shows you how we really try to help. And moving into my next item is a report that comes from the American Transportation Research Institute. And you probably would see on those signs at these locations that the ATRI, as it's called, lists the nation's top 100 freight bottlenecks. Regrettably, we have 7 of the top 100 in the state of Georgia. And the good news is we used to be number 1, now we're number 4. That doesn't mean that we've got any better. That just means some others have got worse. And this report has really changed, obviously, the effects of COVID back in 2020 and 21. Everybody got better, but now as we look at this last year into 2021, we're seeing those levels of congestion build back, and especially at these freight bottlenecks here. A lot of them around Metro Atlanta, but not all of them Metro Atlanta. And so I remind you that through our MMIP, the Major Mobility Improvement Program, we have plans to address most of these locations in one form or fashion moving forward. So this was no surprise to us that these show up on this list, because they've been on this list in some form for years, but now we're advancing those type of projects to address these locations in one form or fashion. And speaking of MMIP, we are holding an industry forum next Tuesday to talk to the developer, contractor, material supplier industry about how we're advancing the next projects and all the projects actually for MMIP. So we'll be putting out that information, schedule information, and how things are moving ahead. And then our intent is next month at committee meetings, we will provide you with a detailed update too of the MMIP program and how MMIP will address a lot of these freight bottlenecks in mobility projects. So stay tuned. We have close to 400 people signed up for the industry forum, so there will be greatly attended next week. It'll be hybrid, basically in person and virtual as well. And we have people from all over the country and world attending this industry forum. So look forward to briefing you more information going forward with that. And let me conclude with this. On your desk is something that we're super proud of. It's the FY21 Accountability and Investment Report. And this is a great effort by the entire agency to be transparent in what we do and to provide a lot of information about every division of the department. It's where the dollars come from, where do the dollars go, successes of each of the divisions, and also the state required reporting in the back that where we have to report annually to the legislature on what it was called SB 200 projects from a very long time ago. But these are the reports that are required to be provided to the legislature. And we just several years ago thought it'd be good to combine all this together. And so one of the neat things about this, and I keep this by my desk, I use it all the time, it's a great ready reference document to use. But one of the neat things is the pullout. When if you see there's a pullout, we're trying to be a little more efficient and save dollars and not print so many of these because everybody's digital now. If you take out your phone and point it at that QR code, either on the screen or on this card, you will get it, download it to your phone, and it's very, says I was successful. That's good. It's asking me to buy a ticket. Wait just a minute. Hold on a second. Let me redo that. Should have probably practiced this, right? So I got the QR code, but you can download that and actually save it on your phone and bookmark it. If you've got an Apple phone, you can throw it in your books, and then you can search it and use it, and you got it at your fingertips. But if you're like me, you may want to keep it beside your desk, and because I'll tab it and use it. But listen, I want to commend our strategic communications group for leading this effort with the Office of Performance Management and Research, who tracks our data and how we keep up with our key performance indicators and report this out. But this is a whole agency effort. It's 90 pages. It's super handy. And I will tell you how important this is. I understand that our chairman of the House Transportation Committee, Rick Jaspers, handed these out to the full House and asked everybody to take a picture and download it because he was so impressed with what a good document this is. So we're certainly appreciative of Chairman Jaspers for acknowledging the good work of this. So again, a great effort by our staff, and again, a very useful document. So Madam Chair, that concludes my report. I'll be glad to entertain any questions or comments.
Any questions or comments? It's a very good report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we've got a few things to do, and one is a retirement resolution. So, Ms. Purcell.
I'd like to ask Rob McCall to please join me here at the podium. Rob is a recent retiree from Gdot, from District 5, someone that I've worked with ever since I've been a member of the board, but not as our district engineer. But he has served us and did a fantastic job there. Rob, I'm going to read this resolution acknowledging you today, and I hope your wonderful wife, Beth, is being able to watch. She was unable to come because she's a school teacher, and that's where she needs to be at school today. But the resolution reads, whereas Robert Thomas McCall Jr. is retiring as the district engineer for District 5 after 30 years of service with the Georgia Department of Transportation. Robert spends most of his DOT career focused on finding innovative ways to improve safety and mobility of the state routes, as working with local counties and municipalities in District 5, basically to ensure a safe and efficient transportation system. Whereas Rob began his Georgia DOT career in 1992 and worked his way through the ranks, taking on several roles within the districts, including District State Aid Coordinator, District Traffic Engineer, District Construction Engineer, and District Maintenance Engineer, until he was named our District Engineer for District 5, a role he has held since 2019. And whereas, since assuming the role of District Engineer, Rob was responsible for more than 400 employees in 26 counties of Southeast Georgia, and for providing executive oversight for the own operations and district activities on our interstates and state routes. Notably, his leadership helped advance projects that support the ever-expanding Port of Savannah, freight mobility, and safety for all motorists and pedestrians. And whereas, through Rob's impressive tenure with the department, he has worked on a variety of mobility, safety, and capacity improvement projects, beginning with the I-95 widening project and the Bay Street Viaduct replacement project, to most recently the new I-95 interchange at Belfast-Keller Road, US 84 widening from Waycross to Homerville, the Jimmy DeLoach Parkway extension, and our State Route 67 and 144 widening and reconstruction. Rob has led the departments responsibly on numerous hurricane and tropical storm events, and even a rare major winter storm event in Southeast Georgia. And whereas a graduate of Georgia Southern University, woo-hoo for me and the commissioner, Rob holds a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineered Technology, and for 30 years, Rob McCall has committed his service and leadership to the state of Georgia and the Georgia Department of Transportation, and has been steadfast in his efforts to ensure our state roads and bridges are safe and in a state of good repair for citizens and visitors alike. So therefore, be it resolved that the State Transportation Board extend its best wishes to Rob McCall upon his retirement, and that we recognize him for his unwavering commitment to the Georgia Department of Transportation and his steadfast leadership of teams and projects that improve mobility and transportation throughout District 5 and the state of Georgia. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and a suitable copy be presented to Rob McCall in honor and recognition of his retirement from the Georgia Department of Transportation after 30 years of service. I would place this before you for adoption and approval of this resolution. I make that a motion, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. That's a long time.
And with that, I'm going to ask Rob if he will make a few remarks to us after 30 years being with us, and we'll miss you.
I'll let him listen.
Oh, no, I do too.
Thank y'all. Thank you to the board, Commissioner, for this honor. I mean, I don't know where 30 years is gone. I mean, I'm very proud of all we've accomplished in 30 years as a department. And with the leadership y'all have in place, I know it's going to continue that way. Miss Ann means a lot to me. Russell, we went to school together years ago. Of course, he was always the smartest one in the class, still is. I worked with Brad on our first job. I either worked for him or with him for most of my career, and he's a great guy, and Meg's always helped me every time I needed her. And I'm not going to, I think I'm going to end it right there. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.
And before Rob leaves the podium, Rob, if you'll stand right over here for me just a second. I thought it would be very, very neat if I sort of told you what his future holds. He actually retired on November the 30th of last year. And at 2:50 p.m. that afternoon, Rob and his lovely wife, Beth, have a new job. That was the birth of their first grandchild. And I want to just show you what his job is. And we are so proud of our little master baler, Finn Paul, as he has made a total difference in Rob and Beth's life. And congratulations to you. But I just had to put that in. That's the extra job that he has got after retiring from Gdot. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Purcell. Okay, at this time, Sally, we have a memorial resolution. Mr. Kevin Abel will present that.
It's my first opportunity to present a resolution to the board, and it's with great sadness that I don't have the person we're honoring standing beside me. I'm going to take out my handkerchief, if you don't mind, if I can find it. When Russ was elected to the board about a year ago, can you hear me? Is the mic good? When Russ was elected to the board about a year ago, I followed the time-honored tradition of the board of calling the new board member, all of us calling the new board member and welcoming him to the board. Russ was the first new board member since I had been elected to the board 2 years prior, so I was happy not to be the rookie anymore. And I had what ended up being like a 30 or 45-minute conversation with Russ on the phone, and just a really enjoyable get-to-know-you conversation. I found that the two of us really had a lot in common. We were the same age. We were both family men, husbands and fathers. We were successful businessmen and both deeply committed to our community. We were both SEC football stars. Wait, one of us was an SEC football star. And, tragically and sadly, it was, I think, just a couple of weeks later that we learned about Russ's diagnosis and his illness. And here, yet again, Russ and I had something else in common, because 5 years previously, I had been diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma. And thank God and thank to my family and thank medical science, I was very fortunate, very lucky to be returned to full health. Of course, Russ's journey over the last year was much more tragic, and it was with great devastation that we learned a few weeks ago of Russ's passing and the loss of our colleague and our new friend. So I'd like to present this resolution of the State Transportation Board. Whereas Russell Carricker's impact on the state of Georgia was immeasurable and shall last long beyond the year we were blessed to have his service on the State Transportation Board, whereas from the time of his election to the board
in February 2021 until his passing. On January 25th, 2022, Russ brought to the Georgia DOT the same strength of character, generosity of leadership, and dedication to public service that he demonstrated throughout his life, whereas Russ grew up in Americus, Georgia, showing an uncommon commitment from an early age, becoming a Boy Scout who went on to attain the rank of Eagle Scout, and attending Auburn University, where he exhibited the team spirit he was known for and excelled in the classroom and on the gridiron as a linebacker for Coach Pat Dye. The Tigers were an SEC powerhouse in Russ's years with the team, going to bowl games each year, starting with the Sugar Bowl in 1983, when the team boasted an outstanding 11-1 record, the Liberty Bowl in 1984 with a 9-4 record, the Cotton Bowl in 1985 with an 8-4 record, and the Citrus Bowl in 1986 with a 10-2 record, whereas Russ appreciated the importance of transportation, the role it plays in the livelihoods of the constituents he so ably served in Georgia's 3rd Congressional District. Russ made significant contributions in the development of the 2nd Transportation Investment Act for the River Valley area, and he represented his district steadfastly, even as he waged a fierce battle with cancer that he refused to allow to define him. Whereas Russ also served as chairman of the Columbus Chamber of Commerce and was instrumental in creating Startup Columbus, a new business incubator that supports entrepreneurial growth in the greater Columbus, Georgia region, and to bringing the respected Mercer University School of Medicine to Columbus, among countless other successful ventures, positively impacting his local community and the fellow citizens who call it home. Whereas Russ served a number of years on the Development Authority of Columbus, and worked tirelessly to create a strong and vibrant community. At the time of his death, he was president-elect of the Boys and Girls Club of the Chattahoochee Valley, whose mission is to inspire and enable all young people, especially those who need it most, to reach their full potential as responsible, caring, productive citizens. Whereas Russ's untimely passing at the age of 57 is a tremendous loss to the state of Georgia, to his fellow members of the State Transportation Board, and to his colleagues at the Georgia Department of Transportation, and most of all to his friends and family. The Georgia Department of Transportation has greatly benefited from his leadership and his continuous commitment to advocating for ongoing improvements in transportation in Georgia. Whereas Russ was grounded in his Christian faith and cherished his family, as we extend our deepest condolences to them, wife Patty, whom Russ met at Auburn University when she was a majorette, and he was a linebacker. She never stopped being his greatest supporter. His daughter Avery, the apple of his eye, with whom he shared a love of the land, fishing at the lake, and bow hunting together. Therefore, be it resolved that the State Transportation Board posthumously recognizes Russell Character for his exemplary contributions, his loyal service, his friendship, and for his leadership and unwavering dedication to the citizens of Georgia and the Georgia Department of Transportation. A copy of this resolution shall be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and a suitable copy be presented to the Carricker family in honor and recognition of his commitment, service, and substantive contributions to the Georgia Department of Transportation, the citizens of the 3rd Congressional District, and of the state of Georgia. I would welcome a motion to accept this resolution.
Second. All in favor? Thank you, Kevin. Would anyone like to say anything, or? I'll just say I think we're going to really miss Russ. I think he was a fine man of character and ability, gone too soon. So thank you, Kevin. Again, sadly, we have another memorial resolution, and I thank Dana Lemon for being here today to present this.
Madam Chairman and fellow members of the board, I'd like to read the following resolution for Jeff Parker, and it reads, whereas the untimely passing of MARTA Chief Executive Officer Jeffrey Parker has brought great sadness to so many, including his family and others near and dear to him, as well as his colleagues and friends on the State Transportation Board and with the Georgia Department of Transportation. Whereas Jeff's career in transportation began in 1985 as an intern for the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, where he would spend 20 years in a variety of increasingly responsible positions that benefited greatly from his strong and devoted leadership. Jeff first brought his talents to MARTA in 2005, where he served as the Senior Director of Transportation for 3 years, his first stint in a long track record of improving mobility for citizens of the greater Atlanta metropolitan region. And whereas Jeff was selected in 2008 to become Deputy Commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Transportation, where he later rose to the position of Commissioner, using his leadership skills to serve the people of the Constitution State. And whereas Jeff made the move to the private sector in 2011, joining HNTB Corporation, first as a vice president and then as head of the Atlanta office in 2013, where he led in advising public and private infrastructure owners and contractors throughout the Southeast. And whereas marking one of his proudest professional moments in 2018, Jeff returned to MARTA as General Manager and CEO, where he led the agency through a period of successful expansion as well as a redoubled focus on the customer experience, working hand in hand with many of our transportation professionals at the Georgia Department of Transportation, who appreciated his professionalism, focus on continued improvement, and genuine concern for employees, colleagues, and customers alike. Jeff's wife, Erin, and daughters, Gabriella and Isabella, have set up the Jeffrey Parker Memorial Fund, a campaign honoring his memory and raising awareness of the importance of mental health issues. Therefore, be it resolved that the State Transportation Board posthumously recognizes Jeffrey Parker for his loyal service towards a transformative vision of mobility for the people of Metro Atlanta, his dedication to his colleagues, his friends, and most of all, his family, and his lasting impact on so many of us who had the privilege of knowing him. A copy of this resolution shall be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and a suitable copy be presented to the Parker family in honor and recognition of his commitment, service, and substantive contributions to transportation in the state of Georgia. And Madam Chairman, I would like to make a couple of comments before I present this resolution for adoption. When Jeff came in 2005, he and I met because I was already serving on the DOT board, and we immediately became fast friends. He had an unusual sense of humor that I got, which a lot of people couldn't say, but we became really, really good friends. And over the last 18 years, we remained very, very close, even after his leaving to go to Connecticut and coming back. I respected him greatly. We had many, many conversations about transportation, about politics and things like that, and many conversations about his family. He loved his family. He will be greatly missed. Many of you know that they did have a memorial service in his honor. I brought a copy of the celebration of life from that service, and on the back, the family shared a thank you that I would like to read, Madam Chairman, if it's okay. And it just says, our family would like to thank everyone for the kindness and love that they've shown us during one of the darkest times of our lives. Any donation to benefit the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, Georgia chapter, is greatly appreciated and will indeed honor Jeff's life. So if you haven't had an opportunity, please consider doing that, making that contribution in honor of Jeff's life. He was a great Georgia citizen. He will be missed. And Madam Chairman, thank you for allowing me to do this for my friend. At this time, I would like to present this resolution in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor? Thank you, Dana. And your comments were very, very nice. But yes, I think I remember Jeff just for his kindness and his smile. Not to mention, of course, his great abilities that we will all be missing. But thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, let's transition into our board committee reports. Tim Golden, would you like to present the legislative minutes?
Madam Chair,
okay, since you stepped in, you go right ahead.
Okay. The Legislative Committee convened at 1:45 on Wednesday, February the 16th. Board members present included Johnny Floyd, Emily Dunn, Kevin Abel, Robert Brown, Rudy Bowen, Jamie Boswell, Jeff Lewis, and myself. Our first order of business was Joshua Walla, Director of our Public and Government Affairs provided a state legislative update, including discussion of the legislative calendar through sine die, as well as recent legislation. He further noted that Congress is considering a new continuing resolution that will extend the deadline from February the 18th to March the 11th. There was no further business, so therefore the committee was adjourned at 1:42 p.m. That concludes our report.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll have Mr. Boswell presenting the Finance Committee report.
Thank you. The Finance Committee convened at 1:45 p.m. on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Board members present included myself, Ann Purcell, Robert Brown, Emily Dunn, Kevin Abel, Johnny Floyd, Rudy Bowen, and Jeff Lewis. First order of business, Angela Whitworth, Treasurer, provided an update on the amended fiscal year 2022 budget reflecting changes made by the House Appropriations Committee. She reported an increase of more than $29 million in the amended fiscal year 2022 budget in the House version above the original governor's recommendation. These funds included more than $10 million in additional funds for short-line rail throughout the state, as well as providing funding to fulfill the $5,000 cost of living increase and other recruitment and retention initiatives. There being no further business, I adjourn the meeting at 1:55 p.m.
All right, thank you, Mr. Boswell. Ms. Lemon?
Madam Chairman, I would like to read the following report for Mr. Brown. The Equal Access Committee convened at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, February 16th. Board members present included Lewis, Dunn, Abel, Purcell, Floyd, Bowen, Boswell, and Morris. The EEO Director, Kimberly King, presented an update to the DBE semi-annual report as submitted to the FHWA in December 2021. Twice annually, the semi-annual report is submitted to inform the Federal Operating Administration of our DBE spend for a particular reporting period. There being no further business, Chairman Brown adjourned the meeting at 2:27 p.m. That concludes the report.
Thank you. And at this time, I'll present the report for the Committee of the Whole. The Committee of the Whole convened at 2:28 p.m. on Wednesday, February 16th. Board members present included myself, Abel, Brown, Purcell, Floyd, Bowen, Boswell, Lewis, and Morris. Our first order of business, Kenneth Franks, the State TIA Administrator, provided an annual update on the progress of TIA in the current 4 regions. The TIA program has collected over $1.5 billion, with $1.1 billion funding the approved investment list and the $400 million dispersed to counties and cities via the discretionary formula. 2021 highlights include 94 projects led to construction, 66 projects completed in construction, and expenditures in excess of $95 million. Kenneth highlighted various projects in all regions and confirmed that the TIA office is on pace to deliver the last 34 projects in the original 3 regions. There being no further business, I adjourn the meeting at 2:58 p.m. Okay, do we have any new business? Okay, well with that, it was a very good meeting and we are adjourned.